If you're over 60 and you're trying to eat clean to protect your heart, here's a slightly unsettling question to start with. What if a few foods you've been choosing because they sound healthy are quietly doing the opposite, nudging your arteries towards stiffness and buildup without you realizing? The reason this matters is simple. Hardening of the arteries isn't a dramatic event you feel happening day to day. It's usually silent, gradual, and then one day it shows up as high blood pressure, chest tightness, breathlessness on hills, or a scary trip to A&E. The good news is you don't need a perfect diet or a life of salads to shift the risk in a better direction. You just need to spot a few sneaky health halo foods, understand why they can backfire after 60, and swap them for options that genuinely support your blood vessels. Today we'll go through 5 common foods that look virtuous on the label, but can quietly push arterial hardening, and for each one I'll give you better swaps that still feel satisfying, not miserable. And stay with me because number 5 is the one people defend the most passionately, yet it can move the needle on LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol that can lodge in artery walls, far more than most people expect. Welcome to Bravhealth, and if you like practical health explanations without the drama, give this video a like. Tell me in the comments which of these you eat most often, and subscribe for more over 60 friendly guidance. Now here's the first micro hook. In a moment I'll show you a simple label rule that takes about 10 seconds and catches 3 of the 5 foods on this list instantly. Before we get to the foods, let's quickly clarify what hardening of the arteries actually means, because it's more than one thing. One part is atherosclerosis. That's the buildup of fatty material and inflammation inside artery walls, a bit like grime building up inside a pipe. Another part is arterial stiffness, which is simply the arteries becoming less elastic, so they don't expand and recoil as well with each heartbeat, and that can raise blood pressure and strain the heart. And sometimes there's calcification, which is calcium depositing in plaques, making them more rigid, rather like limescale. You don't feel these changes directly, but you may notice clues. Blood pressure creeping up, legs tiring faster on walks, or getting more winded doing normal chores. Quick question for you. Have you noticed that your get up and go isn't what it was 2 years ago, even though you're doing roughly the same things? That can have lots of causes, of course, but it's one reason this topic matters after 60. Now, the 10-second label rule I promised. If a food is marketed as healthy, but the ingredients list reads like a chemistry set, or the sugar and salt are higher than you'd expect for something wholesome, it's worth a second look. And in a moment, you'll see how this plays out with a breakfast that millions of people eat thinking they're doing their arteries a favor. Food number 1, fruit juice and many shop-bought smoothies, including the ones that shout, "No added sugar." This one upsets people because it feels like I'm attacking fruit, and I'm not. Whole fruit is one of the most consistently heart-friendly choices you can make. The issue is what happens when you turn fruit into a drink. When fruit is juiced, you remove most of the fiber, which is the part that slows sugar absorption and supports gut bacteria, and you're left with a sweet liquid that hits your bloodstream fast. Even without added sugar, the free sugar load can be high, meaning the sugars are no longer trapped inside the fruit's structure. After 60, many people have a bit more insulin resistance, which simply means the body doesn't handle sugar as smoothly as it used to, so that rapid sugar hit can push up blood glucose and triglycerides, which are fats in the blood that rise after sugary meals and are linked to cardiovascular risk. It can also encourage glycation. That's when sugar sticks to proteins and fats in your body, making them behave less nicely, which isn't great news for blood vessels. Be honest, have you ever downed a healthy smoothie and then felt oddly hungry or a bit shaky an hour later? That roller coaster feeling is a clue that your body processed it like a sweet drink, not like a balanced meal. Practical swap. Choose whole fruit more often than fruit drinks, especially berries, apples, pears, and oranges. And if you love smoothies, make them slow smoothies. That means include the whole fruit, add a handful of leafy greens, and crucially add something that slows absorption like plain yogurt, kefir, nuts, or chia seeds. Kefir, by the way, is a fermented milk drink with live cultures, basically friendly bacteria, and it can make a smoothie more filling. If you do juice, keep it small and treat it like a treat, not a health tonic. And here's your micro hook. In a moment, I'll explain why the next healthy food can push your blood pressure up without tasting salty at all, which is sneaky and genuinely important after 60. Food number 2, granola, healthy cereals and many cereal bars, especially the ones labeled high fiber or natural. Granola isn't automatically bad. It's just that most commercial versions are dessert-wearing hiking boots. They often contain a lot of added sugar, syrups, or concentrated fruit sugars, plus oils, and the portion sizes people pour are rarely the suggested portion. And after 60, excess added sugar and excess refined carbohydrate can contribute to higher triglycerides and more small, dense LDL particles. That's a form of LDL cholesterol that more easily slips into artery walls. Here's a quick pattern interrupt. Imagine a very typical breakfast. You pour what looks like a reasonable bowl of granola, add a splash of milk, maybe a drizzle of honey because you're being healthy, and you've accidentally built a meal with the sugar impact of a pudding, but none of the protein that keeps you steady. Now do this with me. The next time you're in a supermarket, pick up a granola and look at the sugar per 100 grams. If it's creeping into double digits, that's a warning sign for something you're eating daily. Better swaps, plain oats, porridge, or unsweetened muesli where the ingredients are mostly just grains and maybe seeds. Then you add flavor yourself. Cinnamon, berries, a spoon of plain Greek yogurt, or a small handful of nuts. Greek yogurt is simply strained yogurt, higher in protein, which helps with satiety, meaning you feel fuller longer, and that can indirectly support better blood sugar control across the day. If you love crunch, make a simple homemade toasted oats and nuts mix with minimal sweetener, or choose a granola that's genuinely low in sugar and use it as a topping rather than the whole base. And stay with me because the next one catches even careful eaters. It's marketed as a heart-smart swap, but the processing and salt content can quietly push arterial stiffness in the wrong direction. Food number 3. Plant-based meat alternatives and healthy ready meals, especially the ones designed to mimic burgers, sausages, nuggets, and deli slices. Let me be clear, eating more plants is generally a win for heart health, and many people do brilliantly on plant-forward diets. The trap is assuming that plant-based automatically means good for arteries. A lot of these products are ultra-processed, meaning they've been heavily manufactured with multiple additives, and they can be high in sodium, which is salt. Sodium matters because high sodium intake can raise blood pressure, and high blood pressure is one of the most direct drivers of arterial stiffness. The artery walls essentially get exposed to higher force over time. And here's the sneaky part. You may not taste the salt because the flavorings, smoke notes, and spices mask it. Quick question. Have you ever checked the salt in a plant-based burger or vegan sausage and thought, hang on, that's more than I expected? Practical swap. Aim for minimally processed plant proteins most of the time. Beans, lentils, chickpeas, tofu, and tempeh. Tofu is soy curd, basically soy milk set into a block, and tempeh is fermented soybeans pressed into a cake, often with a nuttier bite and more texture. Both can be seasoned beautifully at home without the salt bomb. If you want convenience, look for options with lower sodium and shorter ingredient lists, and balance them with potassium-rich foods like vegetables and beans, unless you've been told to limit potassium because of kidney issues. And here's a micro hook that's worth your attention. In a moment, I'll show you the blood vessel sandwich problem, a combination people eat thinking it's a healthy lunch, but it can stack salt and hidden fats in a way that's rough on arteries over time. Food number 4. Low-fat flavored yogurt, light dairy desserts, and many flavored probiotic drinks. This one is particularly frustrating because yogurt can be a fantastic food, but the flavored low-fat versions often replace fat with added sugar, syrups, or sweeteners and thickeners. After 60, the body often handles big sugar swings less smoothly, and frequent sugar spikes can contribute to inflammation, which is the immune system's irritation response, and chronic low-grade inflammation is linked with atherosclerosis progression. Also, low fat can sometimes mean less satisfaction, so people end up eating more or snacking sooner. Here's that blood vessel sandwich problem I mentioned. A very common lunch is a healthy sandwich with a processed filling, plus a low-fat flavored yogurt, plus maybe a juice. Each item seems fine in isolation, but together you've got a sodium hit, a sugar hit, and not much fiber. A combination that can nudge blood pressure and blood fats in the wrong direction over time. Now for a mini-story-style pattern interrupt, because it makes this real. I once spoke with a viewer in her late 60s who was genuinely proud of her diet. Yogurt every morning, cereal bars in her bag, smoothies at lunch, and she couldn't understand why her triglycerides were still high. When she swapped to plain yogurt with berries and nuts, and treated smoothies as occasional rather than daily, her numbers improved over a few months. Not magically, not overnight, and not as a guarantee for anyone watching, but it highlighted how healthy branding can mislead. Better swaps. Choose plain natural yogurt or plain Greek yogurt and add your own flavor. Berries, chopped apple, a spoon of ground flaxseed, or a sprinkle of cinnamon. Flaxseed contains fiber and plant omega-3 fats. Omega-3s are fats linked with lower inflammation. And while it's not a miracle ingredient, it's a smart addition for many people. If you like probiotic drinks, pick lower sugar versions and treat them as a bonus, not a daily sugary drink in disguise. And here's your micro hook. We're about to hit the most controversial one. The one that's sold as a health food, used in clean eating recipes, and praised online. Yet it can raise LDL in a way that directly relates to artery plaque. Food number 5, coconut oil, and by extension, many healthy snacks and coffees made with coconut oil, coconut cream, or lots of coconut-based fats. Coconut products can absolutely fit into a diet. They taste lovely, but coconut oil is high in saturated fat. Saturated fat is the type of fat that, in many people, raises LDL cholesterol, which is the cholesterol particle most directly involved in forming plaque in artery walls. Some people respond more strongly than others. Genetics matter, but if you're over 60 and trying to protect your arteries, using coconut oil as your main cooking oil, because it's natural, can be an unhelpful move. Mythbuster moment. Natural doesn't automatically mean heart protective. Arsenic is natural. That doesn't make it good for you. The question is what it does inside your body. Practical swaps. Extra virgin olive oil is a strong default for most people. It's rich in monounsaturated fats, which are fats that tend to be friendlier to cholesterol profiles. Rapeseed oil, also called canola oil, is another practical option with a good fat balance. If you love the flavor of coconut, use it occasionally for taste rather than as the foundation of your daily cooking. And do this quick check with me. If you're using coconut oil daily and you haven't checked your LDL in the last year, put that on your list because you may be flying blind. Now, let's do a micro recap to lock this in before we move to the better swaps strategy that makes this easy. So far we've covered fruit juices and many smoothies because of the fast sugar hit and lost fiber, granola and cereal bars because of hidden sugars and portion traps, ultra-processed plant-based meats because of sodium and additives, low-fat flavored yogurts because of added sugars and satiety issues, and coconut oil because of saturated fat and LDL. If you only changed one thing this week, you'd probably get the biggest return by swapping a drinkable sugar source for a whole food version and checking sodium in any healthy convenience product. And here's the next micro hook. In a moment, I'll give you a simple one-plate rule that makes these swaps feel automatic, not like a full-time job. Here's the one-plate rule. Most of the time, build meals around minimally processed foods you can recognize, a protein source, a fiber-rich carbohydrate, and colorful plants. Then use the health halo products as optional extras rather than foundations. For example, breakfast could be porridge with berries and yogurt, or eggs with tomatoes and whole grain toast, or plain yogurt with fruit and nuts. Lunch could be a big salad with beans or fish, plus olive oil and lemon as dressing, rather than a processed meat alternative wrap with a sugary yogurt and juice. Dinner could be lentil stew, grilled fish, or chicken with plenty of vegetables, rather than relying on ready meals most nights. Notice what I didn't say. I didn't say never eat treats. I'm not here to take joy away. The goal is to stop accidentally eating the treat version every day because it's wearing a healthy label. Quick participation prompt. Which meal is hardest for you? Breakfast, lunch, or snacks? Because for most people, the sneaky artery hardeners live in breakfast and snacks, not in the obvious big dinner. Now, a few bonus truths that help you apply this without getting obsessive. First, fiber matters more after 60 than many people realize. Fiber feeds gut bacteria, helps regulate blood sugar, and can help lower LDL by binding some cholesterol in the gut. Second, sodium is not only a salt shaker issue, it's a processing issue. You can avoid adding salt at home and still get a high sodium intake from packaged foods. Third, fats are not the enemy. The type matters. Replacing saturated fats with unsaturated fats is often a better move for cholesterol while still keeping food enjoyable. And here's a pattern interrupt you can do right now. Picture your kitchen. What are the 3 healthy items you buy repeatedly without reading the label anymore because you feel safe with them? Those are the ones to recheck this week. Now, I want to add a calm safety note because it's important not to turn nutrition into panic. If you've already been diagnosed with heart disease, high cholesterol, diabetes, or kidney disease, dietary changes should fit your overall plan, and it's sensible to discuss them with your GP or dietitian, especially if you're on medications like statins, which are cholesterol-lowering medicines, or blood pressure tablets. And if you ever get sudden chest pressure, jaw pain, breathlessness, sweating, or a heavy upper back squeeze that doesn't settle, that's an emergency situation, and you should seek urgent medical help. Food choices are powerful, but they're not a substitute for proper assessment when warning signs appear. Now, let's make the swaps even more concrete, because I don't want you finishing this video thinking, fine, but what do I actually eat tomorrow? If you currently have juice or a smoothie most days, swap to whole fruit with a protein anchor, an apple with a handful of nuts, berries stirred into yogurt, or a smoothie that includes yogurt, chia, and greens, so it behaves more like a meal. If granola is your daily habit, move to porridge oats and add texture with seeds and nuts, or use a low-sugar granola as a sprinkle rather than the base. If you rely on plant-based meat substitutes, keep them as occasional convenience and build most meals from beans, lentils, tofu, and vegetables, seasoning with herbs, spices, garlic, and citrus for flavor rather than heavy salt. If flavored yogurt is your go-to, buy plain and add fruit, or choose a lower sugar version and treat it as a dessert rather than health insurance. And if coconut oil is your daily oil, swap the default to olive or rapeseed and keep coconut for occasional flavor. Here's a final micro hook before we wrap up. In the next Bravhealth video, I'll show you the simplest blood test numbers to ask for after 60, and what changes are actually meaningful, so you're not reassured by the wrong thing or frightened by the wrong thing. Let's finish with a warm, practical summary. Over 60, your arteries can become more vulnerable to stiffness and plaque buildup, and some foods with a healthy reputation can quietly worsen the risk when they're highly sugary in drink form, heavily processed and salty, or high in saturated fat. The 5 big culprits we covered were fruit juice and many smoothies, sugary granolas and cereal bars, ultra-processed plant-based meat alternatives, low-fat flavored yogurts, and coconut oil as a daily staple. None of this is about perfection or fear. It's about swapping the foundations of your diet towards whole foods, adequate fiber, sensible salt, and healthier fats, while keeping the fun foods as occasional extras rather than daily defaults. If you found this helpful, tap like, share it with someone who's trying to eat better after 60, and tell me in the comments which of these surprised you most. Subscribe for more clear, trustworthy guidance and stay healthy. I'll see you in the next Bravhealth video.